Hi, everybody. It's Mr. T again. Hope you're having a great week. I'm here with, another episode of Wizard of House, a podcast by Mr. T. My guest today is basically a company that really helps you enjoy your pool more. Let's put it that way. You know, we all, the people that have pools or are thinking of having pools, there's many things goes into owning a pool. It's just like owning a car or, even a bicycle or things that need maintenance. So I brought one of the greatest pool maintenance companies here that I'm so impressed with. We're gonna just talk about what it goes into taking care of your pool on weekly basis. I know a lot of people do their own pool and they do a great job at it. There's nothing wrong with that. But life is busy. So a lot of us, we don't have time. So we take it on, we say we're gonna do it ourselves. And like some people do their own lawn and you see, oh my God, he cut the lawn, but he didn't edge it. Why? Because his edger is broke. So this is the same thing. I've learned a long time ago that let the experts do the work. So I've brought an expert that's going to teach us, what helps your pool and what hurts your pool. Matt, welcome. I'm going to let Matt introduce himself and his company. And we're going to talk, hopefully you will pick up some good knowledge about what to do with your pool, or just call Matt. He can answer all your questions. Go ahead, Matt.
I appreciate you having me on the show, Lee. This is Matt with Matt Superior Pool Services. Pretty much have been taking care of Lee's pool, and as he's already said, he's impressed. So it's been nothing but great being his pool boy.
Yeah, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what brought you to this area, what did you do, how did you get into pool business, and your family too?
So in short, I was born and raised in Ormond Beach. I've been here my whole life. I've kind of ventured out a little bit here and there, but I kept finding my way back. My whole life, I was pretty much born and raised on the couch of security alarms and cameras, and that was my first industry that I spent most of my time in. As a lot of people transitioned during the COVID times, I was actually pushed out of the industry where I was at. I was doing inside and outside sales, and that was no longer a position needed. So I was right back to the house. So I had a pool business on the side, just doing a few accounts just for friends and family and for fun, and just kind of something I always did as a weekend warrior. And it was interesting, and I just took a shot at making it full time and started building the accounts. And, 2 years later, I've got a full blown business, keeps me plenty busy, and so I've got an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old kid. It's pretty much, I put my feet to the floor every day for them,
Boy and a girl?
What keeps me working. Yeah. My son's the younger of the two. And, between their school schedule and the work schedule, it's intense, but it's definitely good for me. It keeps me busy. And
what's their names?
My son is Talon and my daughter is Olivia.
Nice, beautiful. Hi, Talon. Hi, Olivia.
Yeah, hey.
So, again, thank you for coming. So your day-to-day activities, like I know you go house to house to house, and
right.
I know you do a lot of stuff up and down from Ormond to Port Orange and
correct.
Wherever you can.
Yeah, pretty much.
Guy, but you're more hands-on. You're the guy that actually shows up. What I've noticed, you met me, you told me what you're gonna do, and you actually, this is where I'm impressed. You did what you said you were gonna do, and you're on it. You're all over it. That's what impressed me. Because as small business owners such as myself, smaller business owners, we really care about our customers.
Absolutely.
And whoever I bring in the show, I'm taking a chance by bringing them here. And, you're one of the best, I feel.
I really appreciate that.
So, just tell us what sets you apart, and, what you run into, what all you do, what you recommend. And I'll keep interrupting you.
No problem.
And don't beat me up. I stop you. I interrupt you. I make you back up. I make you forward. So
that's all right.
Thank you again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So basically, we show up. One of the reason why and what I formulated the business around, I guess I should say, is basically just that. A lot of the customers' complaints that I heard was people stop showing up. And one of the biggest reasons I found is because they'll come in and price it for whatever it is at that point in time to them. And it comes out of price range. Now they've found, a few months later, it's not what it should be. So there's got to be a little bit more than just a price given up front. You've got to discuss with the customer the surroundings, the environment, if it has a screen over it, if it's a salt pool, if it's a chlorine pool. There's all kind of things that come into how we look at it, to estimate it. So basically what it comes down to is what is it going to be involved every time I show up to this pool, which is once a week. We go to every account and we brush it, we net it, we vac it if it needs it. We clean both skimmers. We clean the filter once a month. We make the chemistry in the water always correct, whatever it takes within the general chemicals needed. If there's anything special, we'll always reach out to the customer before treating it and let them know if there's going to be any additional cost or what it is that we're doing. But essentially we show up, and the reason we do is because we price it accordingly and we give exactly what we price for. We tell you what we're going to do and we do it. And that is what I found a lot of people are struggling with, is they're not showing up because it's too many leaves in the pool and it takes 30 to 40 minutes to take care of the one pool when it could take 15 to 20 minutes on an average pool. So if I'm not accommodating that in some way, someone's going to give up. And generally it's the pool guy because there's no money in it. So you've got to price it accordingly and then deliver what you're going to give. And that's what I found most people didn't have a problem with. They want to make sure that when they take their car in, like you said earlier, or when they take their pool in, or when they take anything that's within a home in, it's going to be handled correctly and taken care of. And it's not necessarily always a cost that comes into it. A lot of times they don't even know, that there's a salt system out there for their pool. So
right.
There is. I've had multiple customers that I've taken over from other companies that they never were aware that they could do salt in their pool, or they could put an algicide in there for 6 months so they wouldn't have algae growing in there because they're on the river or they're on the ocean. There's things that affect their environment different than your environment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So they don't.
So I let them know, look, I could do it for the price they're doing it, and chances are you're only going to see me for 6 months too during the good months. And then, you're not going to see me when it comes time to put in the chemicals that are needed in this pool. Your pool is completely different than this guy's pool over here, because he might be on the river or the ocean where the sun's beating on it all day. You're in a shadier, caged pool where it's not seeing much dirt, any of the elements, the pollens and our seasons, So there's a lot of differences when it comes down to each individual's pool. And what it isn't priced for is how big it is. It doesn't matter how big the pool is. It has to come down to environment more than anything, and what we're working with on components. A salt pool is far different than a chlorine pool.
So the size of the pool really doesn't...
It's not necessarily the size of the pool, no.
Okay, a lot of people think
it does take time to brush it and net it, but really, even if you're an extra 5 minutes on a large pool to brush it and net it, that's not where it's not that. If I have to treat your small pool, how much chemicals does it take versus how much chemicals does it take in a larger pool?
What do you recommend? Do you like some people convert their chlorine pool to a salt pool, and some people, they don't like salt?
Some people don't.
I don't know. What do you see mostly out there now? New, because salt cells are expensive when they break.
They are. They can be costly, and they can be maintenance. Like anything, if you've got a nicer car, it's going to cost you more money when you take it in for the oil changes and such. So same thing with your pools. It's all dependent on what you like. And we don't get pools, for a cost-effective thing. We get them because we enjoy them, and we're in Florida, and that's what we do.
But you see mostly salt pools, right? Do you see mostly salt?
The salt, I would say it's probably, with my customer base, it's probably 50-50. Ultimately, all the new pools that are going in, most of them are being converted over to salt at this point. So I would say that most of the new construction, yes, is going to be salt. Whereas all the older pools, they're chlorine and they could have been updated or not. So salt has its advantages, especially on the skin, on the bathing suits. I know not so much a guy concern, but on the ladies, their hair. There's all kinds of things that are much more of an advantage, even for health purposes.
One time I went to on a cruise, and they said, "Oh, there's a spa in there," and so I went in, and it was like where they do the massages, and so and they're like, "There's a spa, jacuzzi," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll go in there," and my shorts were like blue. I went in there, and I come out, and it was like red. I was like, "Wait a minute!"
Funny.
It completely changed the color of my
Wow.
trunks there.
Yeah, the bleach is so strong that it'll do that.
Strong,
Yeah. So it really is. It's a much better product overall to have salt pool than a chlorine pool. And we all know that putting chlorine on your skin isn't good. And the way the salt pools act are far different than how when you chlorinate a pool directly
you can
with the
smell
bleach.
it. You can smell it.
You can get the vapor in there a lot. That's too strong for you if you have sensitive
for
to
the
smell.
chlorine. Yeah.
Absolutely. So overall, much better to have a salt pool for the surface, for your clothes, for your skin, for your hair, for everything.
They used to say like it takes a like 1,000 or something to convert a chlorine pool. It's apparently not that hard to do.
It's not hard to convert it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just pay for the unit so more so than you do the labor on it. It's not that it's that hard. It's just you've got to get the salt in the unit. It takes an hour and a half to go ahead and convert them over normally. Mm-hmm. The good thing is with it is even if you don't have Matt Superior Pools coming out to you and taking care of it, as a homeowner, you could go grab a bag of salt and put that in your vehicle a lot easier than you can bleach that's stirring around and possibly spilling in a nice vehicle that'll ruin it.
Exactly.
So as a homeowner, it's still effective as well to have a salt pool versus if you're maintaining yourself versus having a chlorine pool.
Yeah,
there's advantages.
Number one, which one is more expensive?
A salt
to
pool.
maintain.
Oh, to maintain.
As far as
it really does depend, but overall, I would say a chlorine pool would cost more to maintain.
Oh, okay.
Only because you're using more chlorine possibly than you are salt. It depends on what's going on with the environment. If you have a lot of rain, it's going to get you both ways because it dilutes your salt down. So ideally, you're still putting the same chemicals in a chlorine pool as you are a salt pool outside of the chlorine and salt.
Oh, you are?
You are, yes, absolutely. You still have all of your, you have to adjust for your alkalinities, your stabilizers, which is your cyanuric acids and your calciums. So you still need to put all of that in there. The only thing you're eliminating by doing salt is a chlorine, is the chlorine in the bromine tablets, basically.
Okay. Chlorine versus salt. So, and your customers are all 50-50 right now?
Yeah, I'd say if I had to estimate, which way is which, a lot of them are switching over now to salt. I'm finding it, a lot of customers are actually concerned with doing it. More are approaching me about it at this rate.
Like if let's say I have one and I have a pool heater and I have solar and you work around all of that, like if there's an issue with let's say my pool pump now is leaking. Do you fix that? Do you have other people?
Yeah, we can
that
get anything. We can do service or repairs. Yes.
Oh, you can
on your end. Yep.
So
yep. And if we don't, we have a team that can.
And you're kind of knowledgeable on some of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff. You're not just. So this is the difference, guys. I saw with Matt's Superior Pool Services. Hey, I said it right.
There you go.
With Matt's Superior Pool Services, what I like with Matt is that he's a one-stop shop. He came and he said, Lee, you need a new filter. Do you want to order it from Amazon or whatever? And I'll put it in. I was like, sure. It took me 2 minutes. He sent me the link, and I ordered it. Now, a lot of places, like he told me, he says, every year you change your filter
once a year.
So I had this previous pool company, and nobody told me that, but we changed the filter once, I think, in the last 3-4 years, which is not good.
Not good. It puts strain more on the motor because the motor has to work harder to push through the filter, the water.
Yeah, you can rinse it and clean it all you want.
Right. After a year of that, though, it's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I kept saying, okay, and they didn't come to me to say, hey, change it. So that's a good thing to know. Now, another thing, talking to Matt, I learned is depending on your pool products you use and how you use it and when you use it, and if you put proper chemicals in it when it's needed, your finish on your pool would last longer. So, Matt, there's pools with different finishes. So some are Marsite, still the old Marsite. Some are the Pebble Tech. Mm-hmm. What is the other one?
Pebble Tech. Yeah, you have all kinds of different surfaces. A lot of what you're seeing now is the Pebble Tech.
Yeah. So if I don't put proper things in there, it'll start itching.
Right, if you don't keep your calcium correct, for instance, it'll pull it out of your actual finish, because we mix the finish up with calcium, so it'll set because it heats up when you mix it. So if you're not accommodating the water's needs for the calcium, it's going to actually pull it from the siding, and which is why you start seeing all the white calcium heads form on your side, and then you have to knock them down and take care of them. But it'll ruin your finish if you don't keep your water chemistry correct.
Yeah, and another thing again he took care of for me is I'd seen little algae built up between my tile, and I told Matt, I said, look, I've called these people several times, and boy, like a week later, it was all gone. Matt actually waited for the water to go down. I didn't even have to call him and tell him or text him. It was done. And that to me is worth $1 million, where I don't have to chase somebody who I'm paying to maintain my pool. I had other issues with it, and believe me, I'm not somebody who keeps calling and complaining, but I'm in my pool and I see there's like algae everywhere.
There was.
So I call.
It was all over.
They do nothing. Mm-mm. And I watch the pool guy come and go, and the algae's still there. Mm-hmm. So what am I supposed to do? Is pay $125, $150 a month and go clean the algae myself?
Right.
So,
that's what
it was time to make a change. And another thing, he's the owner, and you can always reach Matt if you have any issues. I can, even if in his routes, if he's busy, he'll text you back, right?
That's right. You can call or text me if I'm on a pool. I'll get to you as soon as I'm done or I'm able to. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it might be at the end of the day, we've got 15, 20 pools going and a few other projects. So, but you can always call or text me, and I will always get back with you.
So what you're telling me is every pool is different, just
every
like
pool is different.
Cars or whatever. Mm-hmm. So if if it has a screen, you have a different prep plan or program or plan of action to take care of it. If it's in a wooded area, like let's say, for example, like Riverwood here or plantation or breakaway trails or whatever.
Yeah, plantation
if
pines.
If you're like
a
lot of oak trees and debris, you're going to have more algae, probably more shade.
You're exposed to the environment, so you're going to have a lot more of the pollens falling in there during the springtime when everything's growing. You're going to have a lot more in the fall of the leaves and debris going in there, which is going to affect your water chemistries because it could spring algae and different mustard algae. You have regular algae from just growing in the sun, not necessarily from the pollen. So it's all different things that can happen with your environment, and we look at that, and that's why your prices reflect it. They really do. It's chemicals and environment.
Also, you brought another thing that I think we should discuss is the timer. The timer Absolutely. That runs your pool is also very essential. I know a lot of people may want to try and save money on the electric.
Correct.
And I don't blame them. I mean, it is expensive to have a pool and maintain a pool. Mm-hmm. But what is your recommendation? What are you seeing out there? I mean, I know some people put it like 4 hours in the middle of summer, which is not good.
No, there is all kinds of tips and tricks and things that in the industry that you need to do. One of them is every 10 degrees of temperature outside, you should have your pool running for 1 hour. So if we're at 80 degrees, it's 8 hours. 90 degrees, we're at 9 hours. So yes, you need to, right now, if we're at 90 degrees, we're at a minimum of 9 hours on every pool running. And it's what your pool needs because your chemistry in the water can be 100% perfect and you'll test it and you'll see that, but it'll be cloudy. And that's because it's not filtering long enough. And we know when water heats up, the debris falls out of it. So basically, you have to keep it running to keep that filtered so it's not happening, and it has to be long enough. Some pools are different. In the summer when it's 90 degrees, it could be running for 7 hours and they're fine. It's because they're getting a lot of shade. Correct. So it really is an environmental thing. If you have a screen over your pool, there's things that make a difference. But yes, the rule is every 10 degrees of temperature, you have 1 hour of runtime on your pool pump. And
any special instructions, like if you have a spa, is that different?
Spa maintenance is very similar.
The jets.
Well, if it's a spa attached to the pool, it follows the water chemistry of the pool, no different than. As far as how it all operates, it's all pretty much the same system. If you have a separate spa, we handle it no different than we do it would be treated as though it's a pool, its own account for ease of conversation. And it is handled a little differently. You don't generally put liquid chlorine. There's a granular chlorine that you do in there instead. The trick to those is you want to use them. They actually work better if you use them all the time.
The heater or the jets?
The actual hot tub itself, the above the ground ones that aren't built into the ground with the pool, the trick to them is you want to use them. If you use them all the time, you'll never have problems with them.
Really?
If they sit, you have problems with them.
That's what I hear, guys. Like the pool heaters, I list homes, and they say, oh, I have a spa. And I'm like, does the heater work? They're like, yep, it sure does. Like 8 out of 10, my experience, that thing becomes a rust can. The pool heater, all the elements sit out there, and because you don't use it, it just rusts away.
It does.
It's amazing. A lot of them. The inspector comes, says, oh, the board is out, so they can't read any of it, and
they can't.
If he gets it on, turns it on, he says it's not. He says, look, all the elements, everything is rusted.
It's all rusted.
So they cost almost like an air conditioning price, like $3,000 to $5,000. Or
they're more around like that 45
pricey.
to 5,500 installed at this point for the electric heaters like that. The difference between electric heater versus solar is, in Florida at least, your solar is a system, is a season extender. So you get a couple more months out of it, and you're really not saving a whole lot on the upfront. You're saving more so because it's solar. Now with the heater, it's year round. So you have to decide, do you want a pool that you can be in year round, or do you just want a couple more months in the wintertime, as we're coming out of summer? That's the difference between the two.
I mean, my heater just does the spa. It does overspill a little bit when it's heated, but it doesn't really change the solar. So I see some people have
the solar on the
heater, an electric heater to do the whole pool. And unfortunately, that when you turn that on, your electric bill is going to go.
It goes way up. It sure does.
And then you see, oh my God, it's rusted. Let's now change it. There goes another $10,000.
Yeah.
So, we have the gas pool heaters, Hayward.
Yeah, the gas and the
but
electric.
the more you turn them on, when you turn these things, I know it costs money.
Oh yeah,
to use this spa, but it's not that bad. I mean, really,
it's not too bad. I mean, but it is a pool.
But it shuts itself off too. If it gets to a certain temperature, after I notice
it'll do an automatic shutdown.
Yeah, and then you turn it back on.
Yeah, they're smart. Now they've got a full automated panels now to control them all. It's with remotes inside.
Pool leaks, you can. Can you tell, like, oh my God, this pool has a leak?
We can tell if there's a pool leak for sure. And we have a company that we work with that takes care of all of our leaks for us. I actually don't handle those in-house, but we do. We can tell when there's a leak on a pool, and that's also something we take into, when we're looking into giving you an estimate or taking onto the pool. We're gonna have to accommodate that because as it leaks, we add water, we lose chemicals. So it's going to be more, or you're going to have to accommodate that by getting a pool timer so we can leave the water run when we leave. There's all kinds of things that we have to request, in other words, at that point, because if you're not going to fix it, we have to accommodate for it.
So you basically plan your route, and you plan 10 minutes, 15 minutes for each pool, or what do you, how's your day?
Depending on how the driving of the route is, kind of depends on how many I get done, let's say in an hour. But generally, I'm anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes on a pool. I feel I try to be there 15 minutes, but it usually doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's
usually 2 to 3 in an hour is what you're getting if your drive time is there. So,
and that's a big difference right there. 20 minutes minimum on a pool. That's wonderful.
A lot of guys will get in there in 5, less than 10, and they're gone. Yeah. And I have a conscience. That's not, if I were paying for something like that, I wouldn't just want to see somebody there 5 minutes just doing a half brush when I know there could be more done to it, for instance, you know.
Yeah, he's
Give
all
him the
about
time.
quality, not quantity.
Give him the time.
You know, I really appreciate. I'm so happy that I got you to do my pool.
Well, I appreciate you.
It really, I feel a big difference already.
Awesome.
And you know, I definitely recommend Matt. Again, I'm very particular on who to recommend and for what nowadays. But you know, you have really impressed me, and I wanted to bring you. Any advice for all the homeowners out there that have pools? Anything you can suggest?
If you're a homeowner and you're taking care of it yourself, just make sure you're keeping your water chemistry correct. You know, it doesn't matter if you have it salt or chlorine or what you've got going on. Just make sure the chemistries are kept correct. You're brushing it at least once a week. You know, a full brush down on it, because that's going to help the surface. You know, it's gonna do better for you over the term. You're not going to get a cloudy pool. It's not going to cloud when you're stepping on it. It's keeping all the dirt brushed down to where it should be from the top of the pool down to the main drain. I would definitely say if you're using a company and not taking care of it yourself, to definitely do the research on not just pricing, but make sure what they're doing and following through with it, and not just during the winter months, during the summer months as well, because the pools take more chemicals in the summers than they do in the winters. You know, it is easier to maintain a pool's chemistry in the winter than it is in the summer, but it's actually harder to actually maintain it in the cleanliness way because all the leaves and everything are dropping. So it's more work in the winter for us. It's just less chemistry in the waters. But once that season's over, things level out a little bit and give us a little bit of a break. But ultimately, you don't want to look for a price point when you're searching for your pool maintenance, because what you pay for is definitely what you get, 100% in this industry. So if I were paying somebody to come take care of my pool, which I did for many years, even though I did it on the weekends myself, I actually had a friend still take care of my pool because he had done it for years before I did it, and I didn't really have the heart to let him go because he was good at what he did. And I liked the conversation once a week that I got with him. So he came out and still did it, but that was just it. I didn't price it for you know, what was good for me. It's, you know, you're talking $20 or $30, which can extra in a month, that could actually insure your pool for the next 15, 20 years, which is a higher cost value to replace. You know, resurfacing is not cheap.
Anything people need to do when there's a hurricane coming? Anything special? Do you shut it off?
When we have, we don't really have winter up here. Sometimes we'll have winter. You know, and up in the north, they'll winterize pools. They drop the water out of them. When it gets really cold here, I would say sometimes we do recommend to our customers to keep it running through the night. When it's going to drop down below for more than 4 or 6 hours, we'll recommend running it so the pipes, you know, obviously don't burst, because then there's a possibility of them freezing. It's still a slight chance in Florida, but we do recommend it. During hurricane months and all of that, really that is your pools are they're going to fill up a lot more. If you can keep them drained off, it'd be great. So, you know, they're not over flooding over into your home during the time when it's raining even more around the property than what you need. So, if you're running it and you're able to drain it off while you're doing so, that would be great. Other than that, it's going to be more of a mess for us afterwards than it is for you guys. We have to go and get all the debris out of the pool and get the chemistries right. So I would say during hurricanes or tropical depressions where we're getting a lot of rain, we definitely want to keep that water drained off. So while the pool is running, there's usually a backwash on there somewhere with a hose that you're able to turn on and drain water off. And you know, keep it around halfway on the tiles, you know, halfway on the skimmer where it's coming in is about where you want it to be. So that would be a good thing to think about when it's raining anytime, really, not just hurricanes. Besides that, when we have our drought seasons, you definitely want to make sure you're checking the waters, because if not, you're going to draw in air on your pump and you could burn it up. You know, if you're drawing in air on your skimmer and it's not pulling in water, it's not cooling it down.
I see that all the time.
We do. We get drought season. We just came out of it, really. Everybody was thinking they had leaks in their pool, and it's actually just the drought. And we do the old bucket trick, you know, to make sure.
Matt, it's losing water. He's like, this is normal.
You're right. You did it. You're right. Everybody does. Even myself included. I look at my pool sometimes and question it, but I just remind myself of the season
what's the average? Like, you know,
it could be, I've seen it go an inch in a week.
Is that normal?
I can see an inch or two in a week from it. It really, it's dependent on your winds
July,
and how
August.
dry it is. And the wind doesn't help. If you've got things like fountains, or if you've got waterfalls or jets that are above all the wind will take that right out. It dissipates, you know?
So if you don't turn the fountain on, you'll
hold
lose
water
as
better,
much.
right? If you keep the water movement below the water, it'll be better than above. Correct. You won't lose as much. But then, you know, that's part of having a pool. It looks good. You want to have it that way and enjoy it. That's what it's there for.
Right now, you will service Port Orange. And,
I'm anywhere pretty much from Port Orange down to Ormond by the sea on Beachside. I'm Volusia County, pretty much.
You are on Beachside too.
This area, correct.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
And one question I had as far as the salt. Sorry, I go back and forth.
It's okay.
Like, how much salt do you use on a salt pool? I see, you know, I mean, what I see, you know, they put the stabilizer. And
they do put stabilizer in, which is basically, we call it cyanuric acid. It's known as stabilizer. It sits on top of the 10 inches of water at the very top of your water, and it kind of creates a barrier. So the sun, when it's hitting, it doesn't bake your chemicals off as fast. So it helps the chemicals and the chemistry stay there in the pool. So you do have to put that in every pool, whether it's salt or chlorine. With the salt itself, it's actually measured by parts per million, and each bag is so many parts per million, but we have to measure your pool. And that's done by the depths of both the shallow end and the deep end, and the length and the width of the pool. And it's a calculation that basically gives us the gallons, and then however many gallons we have, we divide it into parts per million that we need.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of math at first just to get the salt right. After that, it's generally, you know, a bag whenever it's needed is enough. So
yeah, that's the reason why I don't do my pool. Is I'm learning, you know, if I don't do the right chemicals, or if I don't have time 1 week or 2 weeks, it's going to cost me
it definitely
more
does.
Because now I have to catch up with what I missed, and then also I could be hurting the finish of the pool.
Right.
And then somebody goes in the pool, it's not right. So anyway, thank you, Matt, for coming. I don't really have any more questions. You know, I look forward to seeing you, you know, keep my pool going, and hopefully anybody that is interested in contacting you, please go ahead and I guess give them your phone.
You can go ahead and give us a call. It's Matt Superior Pool Services. Our phone number is 386-873-8173. We can get calls or text messages. We have an email address. It's superiorpoolservices@gmail.com. And,
okay.
You can check us out on Google or Facebook or Instagram. We've got all the social platforms. You know?
Yeah, and he's a 5-star, really great company.
I appreciate that.
Thank you again for coming. And this is Mr. T.
You
just finished watching another episode of Wizard of House podcast. I appreciate you watching. If you have any kind of real estate question, if you need help with anything, just call me, 386-299-8989. Don't forget to also like and subscribe to Wizard of House podcast by Mr. T. Thank you so much. And my website, mrtsells.com. I think it's all written under here, but I'm just babbling on. Thank you and have a great week. See you next time.